I wouldn't allow it.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. All right, we're ready to begin. Joe Durso won the serve. This part of the game is the feeling out period. They're not going to get too dramatic in their shots. They're just going to try and get a sense of the court. Both men end the volley on kill shots, probably because they're not putting too much pace behind the ball. They're just bringing the ball in play. Joe mixes it up right away. His first serve was to Eddie's left high. His second serve was to Eddie's right high. Eddie plays this type of game all the time. 1-0. Always power out. Always powering the ball low. Very seldom goes to a high volley. Something new Eddie's been doing lately too. He's been punching the ball on the serve. He just started punching the ball on the serve this tournament. He's been fairly successful with it. We've had a discussion about Joe's technique here, about immediately going to the overhand to disarm Eddie. It not only changes his timing, but it takes away his favorite shot, namely the low shots.
We had a good call because he touched it.
Even though the ball hit Joe, Herbie saw that Eddie's movement prevented Joe from moving, and that was the reason Joe got hit with the ball. Good call. One plays two. This finals is an exact duplicate of the outdoor championship that we held during the summer. But you have to keep in mind that conditions indoor vary greatly from what's going on outdoors. Outdoors, if the sun is shining, your body heats up, your muscles respond better, you move a lot better. Indoors here, it tends to be a little on the cool side, so it may take a bit longer for these players to warm up. Look at that get. Joe thought the play was over. He had to come back and continue to volley, and he ended it anyway. I have to tell you, Joe learns fast. We were watching the films of the outdoor championship. They played a game and a half low. Joe was on the losing end of that. All of a sudden went to the high game and changed the whole match around to win it. Joe is starting off now with that same idea. He looked at the films. He saw a weakness there on the overhand. You can see how easy that serve was, and yet he gets a return. Unfortunately, he didn't complete the volley, scored a point. Eddie's going to keep pushing here. Takes him a long time to warm up, no matter where he is. That's the second serve he hit out in a row. The fact that he served out at this juncture isn't that important, it seems to me, because both players aren't really warmed up. So if Eddie can continue to hold Joe, the fact that he hit those two out really doesn't mean anything. He could have put the ball in play and still lost the volley, and he'd still be in the receiving zone. So let's continue to watch. Let's see what happens. What's going to happen this time, too, is we're going to study the films of this event and see whether or not anything has changed from the last time. When I discussed with Joe about his winning that last tournament by going to the overhand, he concluded that you can go to the overhand right away. But if Eddie isn't tired, he can make those shots and still give you a lot of trouble. So you got to be careful. Joe may lapse back to hitting the low shots. We'll see what happens. But I'll tell you this one thing about Joe. He has an enormous ability to figure out the situation as it unfolds. That's what makes a champ. He lost the first game to Paul Praviti in the semifinals. He lost the first game to Louis Lugo in the quarterfinals. It looked like he wasn't playing well because he had these slipper-type sneakers which were sliding. But he still came back and did a good job. Joe is the court general. Eddie has to run and jump and fire and move, and it's a big effort. He's in tremendous condition and can do it. So it's going to be a question of whether or not Eddie Golden can keep pushing at a certain pace, or whether or not Joe can control the volleys on the overhand. The score now is 3-4. See, Joe didn't return that ball high. He returned it sort of level. That's why Eddie was able to score the point. Joe has got to return the ball on serve high. He's feeling no pain. Typically, he doesn't go for shots like that. He just likes to feel around, see what develops. But he's got an audience, so he's going for a few shots. If he makes them, he loves the thrill of the crowd. If he misses them, he still knows that he can stay in the game. This is the third serve that Eddie has hit out. That is incredible, but not significant yet. One of Eddie's strongest shots is when Joe drops the ball to the right corner at an angle. Eddie has the ability to run after it and come back with a very strong low shot, usually ending the volley. That's his basic strength. Most other players barely get to the ball and get it back into play. But Eddie has that extra push. Just keep in mind, he's already squandered 3 serves, which in my opinion weren't very significant. Out! I'm also calling the right line, so I'm going to shout in your ear from time to time. This doesn't bother Joe at all. As a matter of fact, he's in such a frame of mind now, even if he loses the first game, it doesn't bother him. He just thinks that way. At any moment, out! He knows he's in control, and that's all that counts. And in his past matches, he's proven that ability. Score is 7-4. Eddie Golden with a short. In a match last year against Al Torres, the struggling was at 19 and 20. Joe got a bad call, bounced back, got the 20th point, and then, to the amazement of the crowd, called a timeout. Comes back after the timeout, gets on the court, and aces the ball behind his back for the 21st point. Probably anybody else would have been so frustrated. Nice effort by Eddie, but not quite enough. As I say, Eddie warms up slowly. You're going to see him do his best work near the end of the first game, and definitely all of the second game. So keep watching that. Score 6-7. Joe tried a little backhand there, probably as a crowd pleaser. I would say if the game was close, he probably would have gone in and put that ball in for a kill shot with his left hand. He's got the court control. Amazing. Over 6 feet tall, and he's able to move around like that. Just watch his footwork. Watch what he does with the ball. Strictly amazing. Look at this. Look at that touch. In that same match last year against Torres, Torres killed the ball in front of the short line. Joe went in, picked it up, gave it a feather touch, and re-killed it with Torres still on the wall, looking with disbelief. Score 7-up. Of course, on the negative side, Joe's attention span wanders around. He'll be bothered by outside noises, as you know. You should know all that. But when he's concentrating, he can pinpoint that ball beautifully. Joe serving. Look at the easy serve he gives. Can't be hurt. Amazing. See if Eddie had the overhand skill and somebody hit an easy serve like that, he'd be able to pass the ball down the line. But Eddie can't do that. A rollout kill by Joe on an overhand shot. Score 9-7. Eddie calls his first timeout. But this is going right according to schedule. Eddie warms up slowly. Then Joe's mind starts to wander. Eddie starts picking up the steam. And if Joe isn't careful, he won't be able to bounce back. There's no real great excitement yet. As I say, it's the early part of the game. They're still more or less feeling each other out. Joe is as loose as a goose. He does whatever he wants to do. He goes for kill shots when he wants to. He really doesn't care if he misses or not. He just has this self-awareness and self-control that at any given time he can open up and score the points. There's only one fly in the ointment. If his opponent is Eddie Golden and you let him go too far, Eddie makes that additional step and ends the volleys as he did in the Castle Hill tournament. Here we go again, 9-7. Now just look what's happening. In that volley, which Joe was in complete control, Joe must have taken about 10 steps. Eddie had to take about 30 steps. But that's not going to stop Eddie. He's going to keep running. He's going to keep warming up. Look at that reach. "11 plays 7. Look at the control. Eddie's got to return that ball higher. You see, but he doesn't have that particular skill. His game is waist high or lower. You give Joe an opportunity, he can do anything he wants. He was just careless on that last miss. He could have ended the volley had it been a crucial point. But he knows, he senses he's in some sort of control here. But he's got to be careful. As I keep saying, Eddie warms up slowly. Okay, the score now is 8-12. This is going to develop into a really good game. I can see now that both players are warming up the way they want to warm up. You're going to see some tremendous playing in a little while. Great gets, the whole business. Eddie has got to keep the ball higher to get Joe off balance. He's doing exactly what Joe wants. Just keep watching the number of times he returns that serve the same way, about shoulder high to Joe. Eddie has made no effort to return the ball high, even though he's been in control of the serve, which is unusual. But as I say, these fellas, they don't practice. They don't practice the overhands. Score 13-8. In the outdoor tournament, they were 15-point games, so the competition was more intense. They're still in the process here of getting into the groove. But as you can plainly see, when it comes down to the nitty-gritty and Joe concentrates totally, he's devastating. Eddie's got to stop him here. And he certainly has the ability to do it. Okay. Second time out by Golden. Eddie is not tired. He's just trying to regroup. He's trying to figure out something. He is now coming to his physical peak in this game. He's going to make all systems go. He's now talking to Eddie Frangione, who's the old master of this game. He's telling him a couple of things to do over there. What I found out from experience is you never tell the guy what to do when he's trying to figure it out himself. The new information just clouds his mind, and then he won't know what to do. He has to really sense what to do. If Eddie has to tell him anything, it should only be one idea. For instance, returning the serve higher or returning it at an angle to Joe's left. But he can't keep returning the ball that way. It's right up the center, shoulder high, where Joe loves it. As you plainly saw, Joe just pops the ball away into the corners. Joe is strolling around saying hello to his fans. The one or two, well, that's something else. Anyway, he's back again. We're ready to play. Joe slapped it out on the side. See, this is where Joe tends to get into trouble. He starts taking it easy. He starts relaxing. He just starts moving the ball around. But this is the point where Eddie gets tough. Eddie doesn't like being on the short end. And again, a double fault. This is the 5th time he's done that at least. Joe all of a sudden went to a low serve. Had an opportunity, missed a kill shot. You got to be careful. Eddie keeps creeping up. And we'll see what happens. See, that's the right way to return that ball. If Joe would have just swung at it, he probably would have missed it again. He cleverly just tossed it back. And tried to avoid the unforced error. This time Joe serves overhand, serves out. The score, 10-14. Nothing has been happening in the volleys, but Eddie is within 4 points. And if you try and play back in your mind what's happened already, it looked like Joe was dominating the play, and he's only 4 points ahead. It's the 6th time, twice in succession, a double fault. Hard to believe. It didn't make any difference before, but it certainly makes a difference now because he's trying to stabilize Joe. Beautiful get. Joe boxed him out very well, used his body, didn't hit it hard, he just dropped it to the other side of him. The score, out, 15-10. Herbie Seltzer is the back referee, and now the score, 11-15. Joe is starting to spray for some reason. He's not concentrating. This is a golden opportunity for Eddie to make his move. Assuming he keeps the serves in. See how cleverly Joe returned the ball high? That's what Eddie should have been doing. Nice move. Great flexibility. Joe was able to pop the... There, he returned it high. Out! See the difference when he returns them high? Joe is concentrating at least. He senses he may have a little bit of a problem here. Out! So just watch him carefully now. As I mentioned, Eddie is warming up to his peak of performance in this game. Always at the end of the first, clearly into the second, he gets stronger and stronger. And this is the moment of truth. Eddie's got to hold him now. Score, 15-13, timeout by Joe. Morris Levitsky is on the short line. Paul Pravidi is on the long line. Okay. It's on Seymour. Okay, we're ready to play again. Another out ball. Joe starts adjusting his gloves. And believe it or not, the score is 13-15. And for about the 7th time, Golden has served out again. At the beginning, it didn't make much difference, but it means everything right now. Joe misses and he smiles. Obviously a defense mechanism. You're going to